All right, guys, today we're going to be taking a look at this problem called the Takis problem. And I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll talk about how to solve it. So it says, one night, King LeBron James couldn't sleep, so he went down to the royal kitchen where he found a bowl full of Takis. Because he was the king, he felt like he could eat whatever he liked, so he took and ate 1/6 of the Takis. Later that same night, Queen Taylor Swift woke up and felt extremely hungry. She too found the Takis and took 1/5 of what her husband King LeBron James had left. Still later, Prince Justin Bieber awoke, went to the kitchen, and ate 1/4 of the remaining Takis. Even later, his brother Prince Drake ate 1/3 of what was then left. Finally, their sister Princess Ariana Grande of Leesburg ate 1/2 of what was left, leaving only 3 Takis for the servants. How many Takis were originally in the bowl? Now, today we're going to talk about two basic problem-solving strategies. The first one, and I'll kind of show you how we can use each of these. The first one is working backwards. Now, the reason working backwards is really helpful here is because you'll notice that we kind of have the answer in the end. There's 3 left, and we're trying to figure out how many there are in the beginning. So that makes sense for working backwards. The second one is guessing and checking. And we've actually already used this one this week. Now, I'm going to tell you this problem's pretty similar to a problem that we did earlier in this year, which was the bus problem, the school bus problem. Very similar to this. Now, let's talk about first the idea of guessing and checking. Now, when I go back to my problem here, I noticed that in the beginning, we have this idea of King LeBron is going, and he is taking 1/6 of the Takis in the bowl. So that's the first thing that happened. Is King LeBron takes 1/6. Now, this is a good place to start because when we're guessing and checking, remember we're not just picking any random number. We're picking a number that makes sense. Now, one thing that I noticed that my denominator here is a 6. That tells me that whatever number I pick to start, whatever my guess is, I have to be able to take 1/6 of that number, which means that whatever number we start with has to be divisible by 6. So whatever number that is, we'll call it x. It has to be divisible by 6. Otherwise, we can't take 1/6 of that number because we're not going to have parts of Takis in the bowl. We're going to have it's either there or it's not there. So 1/6 means that that original number has to be divisible by 6. Now, when we go through, I could pick any number that's divisible by 6, but remember, after I go through and do all of these things, I know I have to be left with 3 Takis in the bowl, right? So if I wanted to, I could choose the smallest number that's divisible by 6, which would be, let's say, start out and say, well, what if there's 6? Well, if King LeBron comes through and takes 1/6 of 6, we are left with 5. The next person then takes 1/5 of 5. We are left with 4, and so on as we go down. Now, remember, the ultimate goal is to be left with 3 Takis in the end. If you get that, great. If you don't, you have to figure out how to change the number that you started with. But remember that number that we started with always has to be divisible by 6 because we're taking a 6 in the beginning. All right. That's one way that you could answer it, and I think that you can do it that way. The second way is working backwards, and it's kind of starting with where we ended. We know that there's 3 Takis left. In the end, there's 3 Takis left. Now, I go back and look at what happened right before those 3 Takis were left. Well, it says Princess Ariana Grande of Leesburg ate 1/2 of what was left. Now, one way that I look at this is I say, well, if there was a bowl and she ate half and she left 3, that 3 must represent the other half, which means the half that she ate was also 3, which together would be 6. Now, that would tell me then that before she even came to the bowl, there were 6 Takis in the bowl because she ate half and she left half, 6. Now, we can continue working backwards in this case by looking at this. We can say, well, Drake then, he broke it into thirds. So let's say he had a bowl and he ate a third. He ate a third, which is whatever this was. We don't know what it is yet. But if he ate a third, that means he left 2/3. Those 2/3 are what was left when Ariana Grande came to the bowl, which we just figured out was 6. So we know that those 2/3 are 6. If 2/3 are 6, then 3/3, or the last third, must be 3, which means that before Drake came to bowl, there were 9. So we can continually work backwards by thinking about our fractional pieces in this case. So working backwards is also a possibility when it comes to solving this problem. So I want you to think about those 2 different problem solving strategies: working backwards and guessing and checking. I want you to pick one of those to start. I want you to try to solve the problem. If you solve it using one of those, see if you can use the other one then to come up with the exact same answer. Both of these are great problem solving strategies for this problem. I want to see how you guys can put these to use. So let's give this problem a shot. I know you guys can do it, and I'm anxious to see what you come up with.